Armistice. An armistice is a formal agreement between warring parties to temporarily suspend hostilities, typically to negotiate a peace settlement or end a conflict. In World War I, the armistice of November 11, 1918, marked the end of the fighting on the Western Front and effectively brought an end to the war. The armistice negotiations between the Allies and Germany began in late October 1918, following a series of Allied victories and the collapse of the Central Power in military capabilities. The negotiations took place in the forests of Compiègne in France and were led by Allied military commanders. The armistice of November 11, 1918 stipulated the immediate cessation of the hostilities on the Western Front, effectively ending the fighting in World War I. The terms of the armistice included the withdrawal of German forces from occupied territories, the surrender of weapons and equipment, and the establishment of demilitarized zones. The armistice went into effect on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month in 1918, signifying the end of the war. The ceasefire was observed on both sides, and the guns fell silent after more than 4 years of continuous combat. The armistice allowed for orderly withdrawal of German forces from occupied territories. The news of the armistice spread quickly across the warring nations, sparking scenes of jubilation and celebration among the Allied populations. Cities around the world erupted in joyous celebrations, with people gathering in the streets, waving flags and expressing relief that the war was finally over. The armistice of November 11, 1918 paved the way for peace negotiations and the eventual signing of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919. The treaty officially ended World War I and imposed harsh terms on Germany, including territorial concessions, disarmament. The Armistice of November 11, 1918 is commemorated annually as Armistice Day or Remembrance Day, honouring the sacrifices of those who served and died in World War I. The armistice symbolises the end of one of the deadliest conflicts in history and serves as a reminder of the importance of peace and reconciliation. Treaty of Versailles. The Treaty of Versailles was the peace treaty that officially ended World War I and was signed on June 28, 1919 at the Palace of Versailles in France. The treaty was one of the most important agreements that emerged from the Paris Peace Conference and far-reaching consequences for Europe and the world. The Treaty of Versailles was signed by the Allied powers, including France, Britain, Italy and the United States, and Germany. The German delegation, led by Foreign Minister Hermann Müller and Minister of Transport Johannes Bell, was present but not allowed to participate in the negotiations. The Treaty of Versailles imposed harsh terms on Germany, holding it primarily responsible for the war. The treaty required Germany to accept full responsibility for causing the war guilt clause, pay reparations to the Allies, reduce its military forces, cede territory and accept limitations on its sovereignty. The Treaty of Versailles led to significant territorial changes in Europe. Germany lost territory to neighbouring countries, including parts of Germany to France, Belgium and Poland. The treaty also created new states such as Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia and former Austro-Hungarian territories. The Treaty of Versailles imposed strict limitations on the size and capabilities of the German military. Germany was required to demilitarize the Rhineland, limit its army to 100,000 troops, abolish its air force and restrict the production of military equipment and weapons. The Treaty of Versailles mandated that Germany would pay reparations to the Allies as compensation for the damage caused during the war. The exact amount of the reparations was not specified in the treaty, but was later determined by Allies in the London Schedule of Payments in 1921. The Treaty of Versailles included the establishment of the League of Nations, an international organisation aimed at promoting peace and cooperation among nations. The League was envisioned as a forum for resolving disputes, preventing future conflicts and addressing humanitarian issues. The Treaty of Versailles was heavily criticised for its perceived harshness towards Germany and its role in contributing to the economic hardships, political instability and resentment in Germany. Many historians argue that the treaty's terms and conditions created the conditions that ultimately led to the rise of Adolf Hitler and the outbreak of World War II. League of Nations. The League of Nations was an international organisation founded after World War I with the goal of promoting peace, cooperation and collective security among nations. Established in 1920 as part of the Treaty of Versailles, the League of Nations aimed to prevent future conflicts through diplomacy and economic sanctions. The League of Nations was created in the aftermath of World War I with the Covenant of League of Nations incorporated into the Treaty of Versailles. The League's headquarters were located in Geneva, Switzerland, as its organisational structure included an assembly, a council and a secretariat. The League of Nations sought to maintain international peace and security by promoting disarmament, resolving disputes through negotiation, and fostering cooperation among member states. The League was guided by principles of collective security, diplomacy and the peaceful settlement of disputes. The League of Nations initially had 42 member states, with additional countries joining over time. It welcomed both major powers and smaller nations, aiming to create a forum for dialogue and cooperation on global issues. However, some key countries, such as the United States, did not join the League. The League of Nations faced several challenges in early years, including limited enforcement mechanisms, the absence of major powers like the United States and the Soviet Union, and the inability to prevent aggression by expansionist states. The League's efforts to address conflicts in Manchuria, Ethiopia, and other regions highlighted its limitations. In addition to its peacekeeping efforts, the League of Nations engaged in humanitarian work, including efforts to combat disease, improve living conditions, and promote social welfare around the world. The League established agencies and programs to address issues such as health, refugees, and child welfare. The League of Nations faced increasing challenges and criticisms in the 1930s as the rise of aggressive dictatorships such as Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy threatened international peace. The League's failure to prevent the outbreak of World War II led to its decline and eventual disbandment in 1946. Despite its shortcomings, the League of Nations laid the groundwork for the establishment of the United Nations (UN) in 1945. The UN, founded after World War II, built upon the principles and experiences of the League of Nations, with a renewed commitment to promoting peace, security and cooperation among nations.